have to unmute Paige. Hey, good morning. Welcome and thank you for joining San Diego Real Estate Talk with Rosita. In this podcast, we'll talk with experts who are usually involved when you buy, sell, or invest in a home, or even if you decide to rent your home out as your investment property. The goal is to simplify your San Diego real estate journey, provide you info so you can make an informed decision, and help you achieve your home ownership. I'm Rosita M. Perez. I am your host and realtor here in San Diego. Today, my guest is Paige Sturgeon. Hey, Paige.
Hey, good morning, Rosita. Thanks for having me. I'm excited about doing the show with you.
Yeah. So Paige is a mortgage broker and planner for Granite Mortgage, has been in the business, I think, over 20 years, right, Paige?
Almost 30 now, believe it or not. Almost 30.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I was... Okay. So his company motto is, we are committed to quality customer service, putting the people we serve first.
Amen.
I love that, Paige. And I can attest to the fact that that's definitely what Paige does. Every client that I send to him, he treats with the utmost care. He's super approachable and friendly and knowledgeable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and really cares about what the client needs.
That's right. It's all about their needs, not mine. And the fun part for me is that every loan to me is kind of like a challenge for how do I help people, if the goal is home ownership, how do I set the plan together to make that achievable for them? And I would probably say, Rosita, half the people I meet with are not ready yet because they don't know what they don't know. And so we sit down and we put the puzzle together, right? Hey, this is where you're at. Here's, point A. How do we get to point B? And sometimes some people are ready, and then others aren't. Many aren't. And so they need to be coached and then they need to be encouraged and given hope and a plan. And I help them work that plan so we can achieve that goal of owning a home here in San Diego. So it's awesome to partner with you because we have the same philosophy and the little things matter. Communication, being patient, and just listening to what their needs are and in wherever they're at, how can we help improve their situation so they can do this? And we're kind of there as a coach, right? And as a counselor to help them achieve that. So.
Right. And we both coach the clients on the different sides. I'll coach them as far as how the real estate process works. I usually provide the contracts ahead of time so they have time to read it over because it is
daunting, right? It's lawyers write these contracts and every year they just keep adding more disclosures because we're in a very litigious culture and society, right?
Yeah. So I coach my clients on the real estate side to understand what they're looking for, what they need, what they can really do with the finances that they're able to put towards a home. And then, Paige, you handle the finance side.
Yeah, and help them figure out in reality, what does a payment look like if they buy an $800,000 house and put 3 or 5% down? What's the reality? What's your comfort zone, right? Maybe there's some things we need to do to pay down some debt or save some more money or wait for that promotion. There's a lot of little things that will help with the questions I'm going to ask on what's available and the resources so we can help them, figure out what is the best program for the borrower. And there's many different first-time homebuyer programs available now to help them. So that's my job, is to figure out, kind of put the puzzle together and go, hey, this is where you're at. This is what's available now. If you're not ready now, how do we get you ready? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to start on the realtor side. What's going on in the real estate market? The inventory is still low, right? There's not a lot of homes on the market to sell. And of course, that's because in the COVID days, everybody refied for the 2 and 3%. So there's no point. There's no point in selling your home or anything like that. So that's one reason that there's low inventory. Because there's low inventory, it is still a seller's market.
Yeah.
The prices have kind of adjusted some, but it's still slowly increasing, but stabilizing at the same time. There's still multiple offers. And what I found what I found was the ratio of the list price to the purchase price is at a minimum 100%, sometimes a little bit over, but not as bad as it was in the COVID days where buyers would pay way above what the appraised price is just to get in the home.
Yep, correct.
So, Paige, in this tell me what you see on your end as far as a lender.
Yeah, it's what you're saying. It's very, very competitive because the inventory is low right now. As you were saying, a lot of that. I was so busy during COVID, not only with new purchases but with refis, because rates were 2 and 3%. So hey, I didn't have to sell that. If I'm going to save somebody $500-600 a month on their payment, it makes sense to refinance. So a lot of these people, took advantage of those low rates, and now they're seeing that rates are in the sixes. And so when they say, hey, if I'm going to sell my home and I'm going to go, here's my new payment if I buy something else, that the payment's way higher because the rates are, doubled, right? And so that's created an inventory problem where supply and demand, where there's not enough homes for sale. And there's a lot more buyers that want to still get in the market and try to own something. So because rents have gone way up, right, Rosita? So you're like, hey, if I have to spend $3,500 in rent, why don't I try to own something, right? And so to be competitive, I mean, obviously one of the biggest things is having a large down payment, which not everybody has, right? And so,
but you can get your down payment from different areas. You're going to go into that.
Yeah, so there's some first-time homebuyer programs where you can get help and with your down payment or closing costs. Yes, but sometimes when you have like 5 or 6 offers, the seller is going to look at what's the easiest path of least resistance. Not only the price, they want to get the most price they can for their home, but they're looking at, will the borrower have a problem getting financing, right? And so when they're looking at offers, if someone's putting 20% down as opposed to 5% down, the perception is the person with 20% down, they're going to have less problems with the loan, or if their appraisal comes in low, right? So one of the things is a bigger down payment helps you have a competitive advantage. The other thing is, is quickness. So a lot of the sellers, they want to close quickly, 21 days, 17 days, and I can do that. So I have relationships 30 years in the business with banks where I'm on top of my loans. I touch my loans daily on a daily pipeline report, go through what does the bank need? What do we need to do to make it happen quickly? So I'm closing closing a loan in 17 days, which is really fast.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah,
I know 21. You and I have done 21, but 17. Yep.
Wow. Yeah, because you got it, whatever the competitive advantage is, right, to get your offer accepted. So that's one is, how quick we can close a loan. The other thing is removing appraisal and loan contingencies. So I've been able to get it down as close as 9 to 10 days, right? So 9 to 10 days is pretty quick because the contract is 17 to 21 days, right? So if I can be competitive and like, hey, we can not only close quickly and get rid of those contingencies quickly to make the seller feel comfortable, because what happens in the past is you have a 30 or 45 day escrow, and then in day 28, like, oh, the borrower's having a tough time on the loan, and then you wasted a month, right? And so cutting those contingency periods down, getting a quick close of escrow, especially because these sellers want to move quickly and use their money to go do something else. So that's another way to do it. And then also sometimes, and this, Rosita, is writing a letter about your family, because people are emotionally attached. Sellers are emotionally attached to their house. And a lot of times they live there maybe 5, 10, 20 years, and they want someone, because it's an emotional attachment, that's going to love the home like they do. So if you just send an offer over and they don't know you, maybe they've seen you walk through the home, but if they have a picture of your family and your story, sometimes those little things matter if they're weighing 2 offers that are pretty similar, right, Rosita? You see that on your side too, right?
Oh, often, yeah. And if it's a story that really touches the seller's hearts, then they're like, that's who we're going to go with. But I have to say that in the contract, the seller does have to agree to receive those letters.
Oh, gotcha.
For a period of time, it was, everybody send buyer's letters. And then it was totally cut out. And now it's like, okay, you can receive them, you can present them, but the seller must okay that. There's like an actual box that you have to check.
So you see, I didn't even know that they keep making changes always, right? There's
all the time.
Same thing. Every week we come, there's a new rule change in the different types of loans that are offered, right? Or new products coming down the pike. So
yeah. So talk to me about, are there any strategies that buyers can do to secure the most favorable rates?
Yeah, hold on, Rosita. There we go. Yeah, some of the strategies, the biggest strategy to get a better rate is credit score. So when I meet with a lot of people, sometimes they don't know what makes those scores improve, right? So one of the biggest things we look at when we run their credit is, are there any mistakes? Because I'd say, good 40 to 50% people don't know that there was a late or a collection from a medical bill or this or that. They didn't even know it was there, right? So the first things we address is, hey, this is right now affecting your score pretty big, where it's maybe hitting you 40 or 50 points. If we can correct that mistake or get rid of this derogatory credit item that's on the credit report, then it's going to totally improve your score tremendously, and it's going to give you a lot lower rate, therefore a lower payment, and you qualify for more of a home. So that's the first thing we look at is, hey, are there any mistakes that we can correct? The second thing is credit card debt. So a lot of people don't understand that the credit score is based on what we call credit utilization, which means if you have a credit limit of $1,000 on a credit card, for example, and you owe 900 on that card right now, you're 90% leverage. So your score could be 40, 50% or 40, 50 points lower just because you're leveraged on that one card. And you might be not realizing that, and you have the money to pay it, but you just paid the minimum payment, moved on. So what I do is we kind of sometimes reposition debt, pay down some credit card debt, improving their score, which lowers their rate. It could be 0.5%, three-quarters of a percent, which on a $500,000 to $800,000 loan amounts could be a couple $100 a month. So it's pretty significant, right? So those are the things that I do is I help coach people like, hey, first we look at the credit score. What can we do in the short term to maximize that score, right? So I coach them on what credit scoring is and how we can improve it based on the credit scoring model and rules. So all the time.
So credit score is the most important.
It is the most important. Down payment also is, but not as much as the credit score. The first thing when we go to price a loan is not only what loan type, what's the credit score. That's the hugest difference in getting the best rate you can. Is credit scoring is so important.
Yeah. And I'm going to have to say, I really appreciate your coaching style. I've sent plenty of buyers to you that maybe in that point when you spoke to them after you reviewed all their financial picture, if you will, they weren't at a point where they could buy.
Right.
And especially not at a dollar amount that they were hoping to get. So I have countless people that have come back to me and said, oh my gosh, Paige is amazing. He helped me, restructure my debt or taught me which ones to pay down. And a lot of the biggest aha that I hear from people is, I didn't realize that 30-day lates were such a dig on my credit report.
Yep, exactly. And then also too is maybe paying other debt down, like a car loan or, student loans, or there's certain what we call installment debt, which are the same payment every month over a certain term. And some of the loan programs, if you pay it down to 10 months, you don't have to hit it in the debt ratio because it's going to be gone in 10 months, right? And if you have a $500 payment or an $800 payment on a car and we pay it down a little bit, that could be the difference of 80 to 100,000 higher in price that you can qualify for because it's going to be gone soon. So there's things little tricks that we look at, say, hey, it's better not to have a bigger down payment, pay the car down to 10 months, and then now you're in that price range where you want to buy. So there's little tricks that I help coach people within the rules of lending that you can use to help people definitely qualify for more and make it more affordable. So.
Great. And I think we already touched upon this, but if you have any more to add, what are the common challenges or obstacles that buyers face when seeking a mortgage here in San Diego? Because, we're the top 3 most expensive place to live in the U.S.
Yeah, I think, that's a really good question. I think one of the things is down payment. Where are we going to have enough money for closing costs and down payment, right? So there's a couple first-time home buyer programs through the state of California, is one of the most popular, called CalHFA, which I do, and I've actually done for your sister, as you know, where they'll give you grants for down payment and they'll give you a grant for closing costs. So now those loans are more conservative to qualify for, but people do, and we use them all the time. That's one. Another thing is people usually get help from family, Rosita, now. It's so common because it's so expensive. I'm having more and more grandparents, more and more aunts and uncles, and obviously parents helping them with some sort of gift, which all the programs allow for a gift to help first-time homebuyers. Every single one of them allow for it, and that's common now too because it's so expensive that now families have to help people get in their homes. So that's another way. And another popular way that people do is through their 401k, because most people don't always save monthly, right? Or they set it aside in savings, but they do in their retirement. So a lot of people are using that because a lot of the 401k programs allow for you to buy a home using your retirement. And what I coach people to do is not maybe liquidate it because they're going to be charged maybe a penalty if they're not of retirement age, and they have to pay taxes as ordinary income. So what people do is they actually take a loan against their 401k, and most 401k providers allow for the borrower to take 50% of whatever the balance is in there. So if you have 50,000 in a 401k, most 401k providers will let you take, in this example, if it's 50,000, 25,000 out, right? As a loan, because if it's a loan, you're not taxed as ordinary income and there's no penalty. So the good and bad with that, the good is we don't hit it as a debt because you're borrowing from yourself. And then with that 401k loan, you actually pay back monthly to yourself with interest. So you're actually paying yourself back with interest. And that's one way that a lot of people now, because they don't save monthly, are tapping into the retirement to get into something. And again, we don't count it as a debt. And it's an easy way for people, if they didn't, instead of waiting 2 years to save 20, 30 grand or whatever it is, they can do that right away and then replenish that monthly out of their paycheck. Okay. So that's another common way people are getting in, okay, to a home as well. Okay.
Okay, so I want to touch upon the baby boomer generation
Yeah.
because that's where we're at, or at least I am. You're probably not
Nice.
there yet. But the thing is that a lot of baby boomers, they may have a lot of equity in their home,
Yep.
but many have retired.
Yes.
So what do you say to a baby boomer in the senior realm who has all this equity and they want to access some of it, but they don't have the retirement income does not allow them to do that? Is that something you want to talk about on this segment, or?
Yeah. There's many different ways actually in that situation because a lot of them have good credit, a lot of them have a lot of equity. But when you do a traditional mortgage, when what we call the income to debt ratios, maybe they get Social Security and a small pension. But once we do the mortgage payment, and maybe if they have a car loan or some credit card debt, they don't qualify under a traditional loan because their income's a lot less than when they're working, right? So I'm actually doing one right now, and we talked about this the other day, as a reverse mortgage. It could be a solution for that because on a reverse mortgage, we're not looking at the traditional way that lenders qualify. We're not looking at the income to debt ratio. It's all based on age, and it's based on equity or down payment. So they have a lot of cash or a lot of equity. Reverse mortgage, then there's a formula we use that the government uses based on their age and based on the equity position or value of the home, where you can tap into that and not have to qualify as a traditional forward mortgage. So that's one way. I'm doing a reverse mortgage purchase right now, where this is the problem: is they're buying a $1.2 million house, they're selling another house, they have a $700,000 down payment, but they can't qualify for a $450,000 mortgage because all they have is Social Security, right? And so they got declined by a few different banks. The realtor said, "Hey, call Page as last resort. He's a mortgage broker, and see if he could come up with a solution for you to get, a type of loan." And then I went through the traditional ways. I said, "Yeah, most traditional banks will decline you because you don't make enough money based on the mortgage payment." But I said there is a product called a reverse mortgage purchase where it takes that out of the equation. So we could do a reverse mortgage where we don't qualify you on a traditional income to debt ratio method, and you qualify perfectly. It's in escrow right now, and I'm going to close next week. So that's one solution, yes. And there's other ways. So let's say they have a lot of assets. There's another loan program called an asset depletion loan, where based on your assets, we'll take those assets, and there's a formula the bank uses, and they'll give you income based on how much money you do have in retirement or savings. Okay. So if you have $1 million, let's say, in the bank in retirement or liquid, we'll take a formula of that, and maybe we can take 4,000 a month income. So it's called an asset depletion. There are many lenders that do that now. It's a newer product, but that is another way to do someone, a baby boomer of retirement age, that can't qualify traditionally, right? So in my previous example with the reverse mortgage purchase, she didn't have a lot of assets. Sorry, Rosita, because my computer blacks out if I don't touch anything. But in that scenario, they didn't have a lot of liquid cash, but they had a lot of equity. So the reverse mortgage purchase was the solution to get them in their home. So anyways, and that's why as a mortgage broker, I work with 15 to 20 different banks with many different loan programs and products. And I got to figure out where I can fit the pieces of the puzzle in where I could get a loan approved, right? And that's the fun part of my job. That's never the same. So
you do an awesome job. Like I say, I always get compliments on how well you educated them and helped them. That they're truly grateful, the clients that I have sent to you. Paige, we are at the end of our podcast. I want to have the audience find out how to get in contact with you. So would you share your information?
Yeah, my contact information. The best way is my cell phone, which is 619-888-7243. Again, 619-888-7243. Or you can email me, my first name, Paige, Paige, @graniteMortgage.net. Thank you, Rosita, for having me. It's been a pleasure to do this podcast with you and to work with you. And it's such enjoyable because we have the same philosophy in putting our clients' needs first ahead of our own. So
absolutely, it is really a joy to work with you. So we'll see you again because we need to get these lender updates and keep our people abreast of what's going on. Mm-hmm. So until next time, Paige, I want to thank everybody for watching. Thank you for joining San Diego Real Estate Talk with Rosita. My guest, Paige Sturgeon, who is a mortgage broker and planner with Granite Mortgage. Thank you so much. Have an amazing day, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye.
Bye, guys.